How's it going out there, YouTube? My name is Jesse, and I am the curator for the Golden Age, and this is another...
Lost Heroes of the Golden Age.
Yes, this is Lost Heroes of the Golden Age, and this time we're doing...
So it's that time of year again, huh?
Yes, it is that time of year again.
Why does this seem to happen every year?
I don't have the emotional bandwidth to process that sentence. Anyways, this time...
Silver bells, it's Christmas.
Stop that. Because as always, you can't sing. Okay, before we lead into this, all we have to say is Merry Christmas. And I hope that your Christmas is a, well, merry one. I mean, what else can I say? Anyways, we're doing an interesting one today. Now, I know a holiday themed would be great, but I can't find any Golden Age holiday or Christmas heroes. Besides, you know, I think we've already covered Jack Frost and Santa Claus. He's been in the comic books, but that's not really Golden Age hero. Anyways, we are doing a interesting one out of Centaur Comics. As I mentioned last week, I'm going to be doing a number of heroes coming out of the Liberty Scouts and Man of War comics. And this time we are covering Fireman. This is as ridiculous as it sounds. Now, as I mentioned in the opener, Fireman works at a CCC camp. Now, I don't think that those exist today, but they were in the 30s and 40s. And I recommend that you look them up because they're actually pretty interesting. Their history and everything that they've done. Their the way that they made the wilderness more accessible to people, and they were kind of internment camps for a while. Like I said, you should definitely look into their history. They're rather kind of interesting. Now, I don't even understand the creation of this character. It's one of the weirdest things I've seen. They explain how he gets his powers, but I don't understand the science behind it. Apparently, the scientist wanted to flash burn his body, and if it burned fast enough, his body would turn into vapor, but still contain his human form. Think of flash freezing, but in the opposite direction, flash burning, which it doesn't make sense. But it's only 4 issues. They do cover some things about Nazis, but only in name only, really. So they didn't really heavily get into that. He didn't fight for, like, truth, justice, and the American way. He didn't last long enough, and he kind of had a girlfriend, so it's a really weird thing. I cover him a little bit as best I can, and then we're gonna do the first appearance like always. So sit back and enjoy Fireman. Fireman, real name Jim, no last name given. First appeared in Liberty Scouts number 2 in 1941. The original publisher was Centaur, and the creator was Martin Flinchok. Now, he does debut in Liberty Scouts number 2 and 3 and Man of War Comics number 1 and 2. There was a title that he came out in Liberty Guard Comics, but it looks like it was just a reprint of the first issue. Now, as we've done with Centaur before, we know that the comics didn't always start with number 1. Usually in the Golden Age, if you wanted to start a new title, you would have to pay for it. But if you renamed an existing title, you didn't have to pay extra for that because it's still the continuation of the comic book. Now, from the research I've done, it does not look like the Liberty Scouts came from another publication. It debuted with #2. Why? I have no idea. I mean, I found the 4 issues that preceding the Amazing Man comics, so I know it came before that, which is why Amazing Man starts with #5. I don't know why Liberty Scouts started with #2. Now, Fireman is a really weird thing. He works for a CCC camp in northern Utah. And if you don't know what the CCC camp is, it's actually a pretty interesting history. So if you have a chance, you should look it up and see what they actually did in the 1930s and 40s. It's actually kind of interesting. So I will leave that up to you to look that up. Now, Jim was captured by a mad scientist, and he was flash burned, which is similar to being flash frozen, but instead of being frozen, he is burned. And because of the scientist wanted to burn him so quickly that the body wouldn't have a chance to burn up and disintegrate. I can't even begin to understand the science behind that. But this time it worked. So he was lighter than air and also made of gaseous chemicals. I read this. I'm not so really 100% sure on this. But he gets put into a containment suit because he was going to float away. And the containment suit allowed him to remain grounded, so to speak. But he also had the ability to fly because he was lighter than air. Later in that very same issue, when the scientist tried to destroy him, using more chemicals would give him super strength. So he could fly and he had super strength. Now, he had this weird ability to put out fire by touching it. Now, it wasn't 100% explained. Either his body took the oxygen away from the fire because the fire needed the oxygen to burn. So he either pushed it away or he sucked up the oxygen, or the gas that he was made of would overwhelm the oxygen. It had something to do with depriving the fire, but he could put out fire by touching it. And that's pretty much what he does for the few issues. Now, it seemed like he had a girlfriend of sorts, and that her name was Nancy, and it looked like in the 4th appearance, which was his final one, she worked with the police. And that's about as far as I can get with that. They didn't really go into the relationship so much as that he did feel protective of her and wanted to protect her. And even in the 3rd issue, they said, eliminate the evidence and Fireman's girlfriend. So they established that. Now, he goes after, let's see, it was a mad scientist, Nazi plant saboteurs, a Nazi funding group where a banker was destroying his own bank because he wanted to fund Nazis, and a professor who was turning people into living flame so he could shoot them at cars that were hauling money, because the guys who were hauling the money didn't trust armored cars. So he was shooting living people that were covered in flames like the Human Torch at these vehicles. Yes, that is as stupid as it sounds, but that is exactly what happened. And then in the final issue, it looked like Fireman went toe-to-toe with one of the Human Torch individuals, but it burned itself up. And that's why they couldn't find any evidence of the crime, is because the person turning into a Human Torch and being fired, the body would burn to a crisp. So he fought. Yeah, anyways. Now, I don't mind the drawings in Liberty Scouts number 2 and 3. I don't like the drawings in Man of War number 1. Okay, I'm going to say that the drawings look very stilted. And I know we're looking at pictures, but it's like with Jack Kirby drawings. Even though he was drawing pictures, they always seemed to flow. I mean, you could feel the movements through the drawings. These in the Man of War number 1, they were very stilted. It did not flow off the page, and the drawing of the body was inconsistent. There is even one panel where he looks like he had a dad bod. Now, I mean, there's not a whole lot to go into about this. He was a firefighter. He stayed around the town of Utah. He didn't go out a lot around the U.S. He only had 4 issues, so there wasn't much for him to do beyond that. He went undercover for one of his missions. Nancy went undercover for another mission to help him out. And that's about the long and short of it. Like I said, the 4 issues plus Liberty Guard comic, which was a reprint. 7 pages for each story, which was a little unusual. Most of the time when we do Golden Age comic books, there is an even number of pages, so having 7 was a little different. No covered appearances, no featured stories. This, I can't say it's stupid, but it is pretty silly. So let's go ahead and cover the first appearance so you can... I don't even know if you can see what they were trying to go with this. This was just really silly. So we're gonna let's go ahead and get into the first appearance. The Fireman. Where's the fire? Fire alarm. Our story opens in a CCC camp in northern Utah. This is gotta be one of the most oddest intros I've ever seen. I mean, usually there's a block and a paragraph that intros our character, but this one doesn't seem to have that at all. And something weird that I noticed, and I just now noticed it, I didn't notice this the first time. Fireman has a gun in his hand, and I don't know why. I've read all 4 issues, and he never uses a gun. I don't know why on his splash page he has a gun in his hand. Okay. It's in the Black Forest, the 3rd fire this month. The fire alarm is rung for the 3rd time within a month. The boys rush out as a unit. So they go out to this fire, and as they get ready to fight the fire, let's see, as soon as we're in the thick of the burning forest, in a short time, they have a backfire started. Now, I know a little bit about a backfire. It's like when you have the main fire burning and it's consuming the oxygen, you create a backfire to consume that oxygen more quickly to put out the main fire, because you're using the oxygen that fire would use to be using as fuel. Yeah, I just looked it up just to make sure, and yeah, that's pretty much what a backfire does, is to consume the fuel that would fuel the fire. But the backfire is more controlled. So as they're setting up the backfire, they see a girl running into the forest, so Jim runs after her. Hank, come back, you'll burn to death. So we'll see if I don't get to her in time. Jim loses sight of the girl for a second, and then he sees her again, and I love how they put the wording in the fire. Hearing a scream, he again locates her. So she runs past this guy who looks like he is in a... Well, I guess it would be a fireproof suit. I'm not sure what you would call a fireproof suit. Like, I think it's like neoprene or something. I don't want to start saying that. I really don't know a lot of the stuff that would have existed in the 40s that I know we would use today. So let's see. Jim's mad dash after the girl, suddenly halted when a huge weird figure springs upon him. Caught by surprise, with little chance to defend himself, in a second he is knocked unconscious. The weird thing easily throws him over the shoulder and walks deeper into the forest fire, somehow not setting Jim on fire. Let's see, a short time later, we see, walking among some huge boulders, coming to a cave, he walks boldly into it with the helpless boy. That's a full-grown man. Don't call him a boy. You could have said with the man. I mean, when he's talking about the scientist, you're talking about the scientist being a heavily bearded man. Okay, so we find out that the guy's name is Gaston. No one quick as Gaston, no one slick as Gaston. Okay. I hope you are more gentle with this one. So he tells Gaston to put him into the chamber. And he says that he will not fail this time, I'm sure of it, which lets us show that he's done this experiment before. Let's see. Quick master, he is moving. Suddenly the room is brightened by a weird light. Motors turn, and a bolt of man-made lightning strikes the unconscious boy. That is a full-grown man. Just as the girl dashes into the lab. You killed him, as you did the others. I see nothing but smoke. So yeah, he's done this before. I hate arrows. I am infuriated by arrows because it is horrible storytelling. If you have to show people how your story flows, then you didn't draw it properly. There are ways that you could have done this to make it flow easily without having to show the arrows to direct us where to go. It is bad storytelling. Oh, hey, we did this so out of order, we need to draw arrows. Well, you know what? You screwed up by drawing it out of order. Okay. So, we get to this next panel. She said, nothing but smoke. No, success at last. Gaston, bring him to me, and be careful. You see, he is now lighter than air. Responding to the master's command, Gaston enters the chamber and carries the boy, this is a full-grown man, out into the lab. Ha! It's strange. If I don't hold him down, he'll fly off into space. And my associate said it couldn't be done. A human body burned into a solid gas and still alive. Gaston, bring me a special uniform. I think this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. He burned a human body into a gas form. But, I mean, I see gas and smoke around him, but he still seems like he has a body. Why are you holding me? Release me at once. So he says, okay, and he lets him go, and he starts to float off. Ha! You are surprised, but wait until I throw you into the uniform that I have made for you. It will enable you to walk on the ground again. So he has this suit that allows him to move on to the ground. So he's explaining it to him, and he says, of course you've heard of instant freezing. Well, you're a result of instant heat. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. I mean, I know he's a scientist and he's trying an experiment, but I'm pretty sure that if you flash broil a body, you're going to have a charred husk of a body. I mean, this is so stupid. You are now comprised of carbon monoxide and other gases. How long will I remain this way? Forever, I suppose. After several failures, I have now succeeded into solidifying the gas and also keeping your brain alive. How or why is my secret. Ha ha ha, I have a great plans. This is completely ridiculous. Several failures, so that's where some of our boys... You guys are full-grown men. Why do you keep calling yourself boys? I mean, I guess in his context it's okay, but when you kept describing him, you kept calling him a boy. These are full-grown men. You'll pay for their lives. Gaston, Gaston! Yes, I experimented with them, but I didn't... I experimented with them, but didn't you... but don't try anything... I gotta stop trying to do this at 5 a.m. But don't try anything because my flame gun will finish you. Gaston, come here. Now, I'd like to think that this is the same gun that we saw in the beginning, but not only does the gun look completely different, Fireman doesn't use a gun. Okay, so he says Gaston isn't here, and he won't keep me from wringing your neck. I'll burn you to cinders. I can always get more boys. That statement sounded completely wrong. Who will do as I say? That didn't make it any better. Not if I can help it. Let's see. The flames don't want to burn near you. Why? So this is where we get the idea that fire doesn't want to be ignited around him. But it has no effect on him or his clothing. So he does get the doctor and starts to wring his neck. Don't kill him. Who are you? I believe you're the girl I saw in the woods. And she says that she is the scientist's niece. He hypnotized me and had me lure you to Gaston. I'm getting away while I can. Okay. Okay, so he's, the scientist escapes and he's like, where's your uncle? And as they're standing there looking for him, this compartment? Is this a compartment? It drops down from the ceiling, and Jim pushes her out of the way. Let's see. Jim touches the hidden button with his boots. Instantly, a large cage descends upon him. He cannot move. So, it was Tim who activated the cage. That's what it says. Okay. If fire won't harm you, then I'll have to dispose of you in a different manner. My chemical tank will take care of you nicely. And we got another arrow. So he gets dumped into the chemical tank. Keep your eyes on Nancy. Keep your eyes on. I don't want any slip-ups. He has... Too bad was so troublesome. So he gets dipped into the chemicals, but when he withdraws, it is a startling thing happen. Jim is very much alive. As a matter of fact, he now appears to have super strength. It didn't look like the chemicals touched him at all. I mean, the tank looks completely intact until he breaks out of it. Spark from his body ignites the chemical tank. There is a terrific explosion. Let's see. I must get her out of here. The smoke is poisonous. So he rescues the girl and puts her away from the smoke because he said it was poisonous. Lighter than air with only the special suit to keep him from flying off into space. Jim can move swiftly. That whole sentence seemed unnecessary. So he goes back to the lab, and let's see. As he returns, he sees the scientist and Gaston both covered under the rubble, and, well, he was too foxy for his own good. They never knew what hit him, so apparently they're dead now. The flames go out when I touch them. Perhaps I can save the lives of my former comrades. So he goes to the fire that was in the forest. I mean, this all must have happened rather quickly. The combinations of gas around me seem to lack oxygen. My own breath seems to be carbon monoxide. This all seems wildly impractical. Minutes he has completely circled the burning mountains. The forest fire is under control. Well, all I have to do is go near the fire and it goes out. Great Scott! First an explosion and now a flying firefighter. He sees him putting the fire out. Later, when the fire is completely out, Jim returns to speak to Nancy. I don't know what your uncle intended to do with me or his discovery, but I have my own plans. I will do all I can to aid humanity. I'm going to fight fire and crime, and I'm going to help you, fireman. Oh, okay. In the intro, I said that Nancy appeared in the second appearance because she was blonde. This is a brunette. So I guess she must have colored her hair. This is... Okay. That's Fireman. I hope you enjoyed that one. I don't even know. This was just an odd one. I do have some more heroes, at least 2 more coming out of these comic books. So, and like I said, Merry Christmas, and if I don't see you before then, a Merry New Year. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I'm all confused. Anyways, until next time, I'll be seeing you.